What can a $100 phone really offer in 2025? Surprisingly, a lot more than you'd think. I've been using the Samsung Galaxy A15 5G as my backup phone for the past 4 months, and it honestly punches way above its weight. Whether you're looking for a budget device or something reliable on the side, this one might surprise you. Let's kick things off by looking at the design and build quality because that's where the story starts. Right off the bat, this phone feels like a budget Galaxy phone, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't mean that in a bad way. It's got comfortable sides, a flat back, and a flat display. Samsung added a few tweaks that make it feel more modern. The body is all plastic, and I'm not really sure who made the front glass. It's not the toughest, so please use a screen protector, and it's a 200-gram phone, so it's got some heft, and it's easy to grip thanks to the thick frame and matte finish on the back. You would think that this helps with fingerprints, but the coating that it has doesn't help too much. I get a ton of fingerprints on this device. Now for the colors, you can find it in this dark blue that Samsung calls blue-black, light blue, and yellow. I really wish I would have gotten the yellow. It's such a nice color for this phone. It's not going to win any design competitions against the much more expensive S25 Ultra, but for all the money you're saving, it looks great. And one bad thing to note is that there's no water resistance, and honestly this is a little disappointing because most phones in this price range, including Redmi, Moto, Poco for example, are starting to add at least splash resistance. Samsung did fix this, however, with the newer A16 series, where they added IP54 dust protection and water resistance, and while the build and feel of the phone give off budget vibes, what really surprised me is what's on the front of the device. Let's talk about the display, because this is where Samsung really pulled through for the price. We are looking at a 6.5-inch Super AMOLED display with a full HD Plus resolution and a 90Hz refresh rate. For a phone under $100, this is honestly a steal. It's not flagship bright or super color calibrated, but it's really good for the price. You can get up to 800 nits of peak brightness, and it's totally usable outdoors for sure, but it's not really ideal in direct sunlight. It's a nice jump over last gen LCD panels and way better than what you'd find on something like the A14 5G from last year. The bezels are thick, there's a teardrop notch, but again, this is a budget phone, so no complaints here. The refresh rate stays locked, either at 60Hz or 90Hz, depending on your settings. Don't expect adaptive refresh rate like you would get on the S25 Ultra. I just lock it at 90Hz because it looks a lot better. It's not quite as good as 120Hz, of course, but if this is a backup phone and you are coming from a previous generation budget phone with 60Hz, 90Hz is much better than 60Hz in real world use. A good screen doesn't mean much if the phone can't stay on, right? Thankfully, the battery life is another area where the A15 5G holds its own and then some. You're getting the same size battery that the S25 Ultra has, which is a 5000 mAh battery. I'm getting over 10 hours of screen on time with average use doing things like making phone calls, sending messages, watching some YouTube videos, of course, light gaming, and listening to music. What about the charging speeds? Well, at least for Samsung, it's pretty much on par. It supports 25 watts fast wire charging, which will get you about 50% in 30 minutes and 100% in about an hour and a half. I'm hoping that eventually Samsung is going to fix the charging speeds because they have been notoriously slow for many generations now. And of course, great battery life is only part of the equation, especially if you're the kind of person who likes to snap a few pics throughout the day or take a few videos. So how does this device handle photography? Well, getting to the camera, what camera hardware does the A15 5G have? You've got a 50 megapixel main sensor, a 5 megapixel ultra wide, 2 megapixel macro, and a 13 megapixel selfie cam. It's your standard affordable Samsung setup. In daylight, the main sensor holds up, photos look sharp, sometimes too sharp, with good colors and solid dynamic range. Portraits are fine, and the selfie cam is actually pretty good for the price. It could be better though. But anything beyond that, The 2x zoom is digital and soft. Ultra-wide photos, honestly, the color is not that great, but detail just kind of vanishes as well. And macro shots, well, if you can get it to focus right, it's okay. What about low light? Yikes. Photos look muddy, detail drops, and you'll see a ton of noise unless you use night mode, which does help a bit. What about the ultra-wide and low light? Well, definitely not a selling point because there's no night mode for the ultra-wide, and that's only available on the main 50 megapixel sensor. One huge downside is that you can only record up to 1080p at 30 FPS, but you will get decent clips in daylight. I just wish it offered 4K 60. Filming 1080 60 at 30 FPS. It's a very windy day, and I'm just out here with Cusco going for a quick little walk, and this is the Samsung A15 5G. Let me know down below, how does the audio sound? How do the colors look? I'm gonna look up into the tree here, look into this green grass over here, moving around. I'll even zoom in 2x digital zoom. Come on back. And there we go. So let me know what it looks like down below. The selfie video is pretty good too, but you're not going to get image stabilization, so just try not to move. Filming video from the front-facing camera on the A15 5G. And I'm out here with Cusco. We're going for a little bit of a walk. You guys let me know, how are the colors down below, the audio. To me, it looks fine. Man, it's getting a little chilly here in Florida, like 70 degrees. At least for Florida, that's chilly. But how does it look? How does it sound? To me, it doesn't look too bad. So I guess for a less than $100 budget phone, it could be a lot worse. So everybody subscribe down below, and we'll keep going. But with all this said, remember that this thing costs less than $100 on used websites. For the price, I still think it's more than acceptable. So yeah, the camera setup has its ups and downs, but let's shift gears a little bit, because when it comes to features, Samsung actually packed in a lot of stuff that's surprisingly rare at this price point. So here's where Samsung does something good. You get 5G, NFC, Wi-Fi 5, Bluetooth 5.3, micro SD slot, and a headphone jack. In 2025, this is rare. It runs Android 14 with One UI 6.1, and you're getting 3 major Android updates plus an extra year of security update patches. That's a big win at this price. One UI 6 is as great as ever here, but you will not get an always-on display, so that's kind of a downside. It's important to note that multitasking works great, the quick panel looks clean, and everything feels familiar if you've used Samsung before. So you still get things like good lock and a bunch of customization options and the Edge panel. But as much as the software and features deliver, none of that really matters if the phone can't keep up with what you're doing. So how does the A15 5G perform day to day? Well, the Galaxy A15 5G uses the MediaTek Dimensity 6100 Plus, and yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, the performance is not great. You're going to get stutters and lag from time to time. For me personally, this is a deal breaker, but my Pixel 5 that was released in 2020 is clearly snappier and more fluid. For gaming, you can play casual mobile games, but don't expect anything more than that. And also, if you're a big fan of emulation like I am, you can handle things like Game Boy Advance games, but anything more tasking to the CPU or GPU, and it's mostly unplayable. And on the bright side at least, I didn't notice any major overheating like I've had on my older Pixel devices. And of course, once you've opened up your mobile game or maybe hit play on a video, you'll want to hear what's going on, and that brings us to the speaker setup. For the speakers, you're getting a single bottom firing speaker, and it's fine, but the sound is thin and little to no bass. Here's a clip. Okay, I'm about 4 inches from the camera that I'm recording on. They'll give you an idea of the sound quality.
The year is 1991. Birds and people are living together in seemingly perfect harmony. Until one day, a young man catches fire. This is Phoenix. You've been knocked down and got up again. In a corner, you're surrounded, no defenders. You've hit your fury and kept it in. But it's time now you ignite and turn to embers. Like a phoenix, you burst into fire. A thirst and desire, you transform right up in a flash. You spread your wings to rise from the ashes.
Not too great. If you're not super picky about audio and just need something for casual YouTube or voice calls, it gets the job done. Otherwise, plug in a pair of headphones so you can use the headphone jack or connect some Bluetooth headphones. And if haptic feedback is important to you, this is not the phone for you. The haptics are horrendous. It feels mushy, and I'm not really sure how else to describe it. Here's a clip. The Galaxy A15 5G is a phone that makes sense on paper. Great screen, solid battery life, lots of legacy ports and slots, and a clean Samsung experience with long-term updates. But in practice, performance holds it back. The ultra-wide camera is pretty rough, and the lack of basic splash resistance feels a little outdated even for a phone at this price point. And haptics are horribly mushy. If you're locked into Samsung's ecosystem, it's worth considering. Otherwise, there are better options with faster performance, better cameras, and smoother software for a similar price like Xiaomi and Motorola. Would I personally recommend it? Only if you need to stick with Samsung when considering a budget or backup phone. If not, then no, spend your $100 elsewhere. Let me know what you think. Is the A15 5G worth it for you? What would you choose instead? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below and hit that like button if this helped, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more honest reviews like this one, and I will see all of you next time.